Hello, welcome back to week 3 of online distance learning. If you will, go ahead and take out your packet, place it in front of you, and I'll tell you what we're going to be learning about today. So today we're on lesson 10.3, and this whole week we'll be learning a whole lot about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, intersecting lines, points, and angles. Okay, so right now we're on lesson 10.3. What we're working towards is learning how to draw and identify lines and angles and to classify shapes by properties of their lines and angles. The essential question, this is what you want to be able to answer by the end of the week. By the end of the week, you should be able to answer this question. How can you identify and draw parallel lines and perpendicular lines? Hopefully not by the end of the week, but by the end of this lesson today, you'll be able to answer that question. So let's look together, and we're going to unlock the problem, real world. I'm going to read this, and I want you to follow along. It says, you can find models of lines in the world around you. For example, two streets that cross each other model intersecting lines. Metal rails on a train track that never cross model parallel lines. So we're going to learn those words today. Intersecting lines, we'll learn what those are. Parallel lines, as well as perpendicular lines. The first one we want to take a close look at is intersecting lines. So intersecting lines do exactly what that word says. They intersect or they cross each other. The definition says intersecting lines are lines in a plane that cross at exactly one point. Intersecting lines form 4 angles. So this is an angle, this one, here, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. You're going to learn how to draw it. We draw intersecting lines like this. We would read this as line HI intersects line JK at point X. This is the point where the lines are intersecting. I'll say that again. Line HI intersects lines JK or line JK at point X right here. So I would write this as, and you have a line symbol at the top. Line HI and JK intersect at point X. Line HI intersects line JK at point X. Line HI intersects or crosses line JK at point X. Intersecting lines. Parallel lines, the way I can remember parallel lines is to think about parallel lines as a pair of L's, okay? You have 2 L's in parallel. It says a parallel or pair of L's. Parallel lines are lines in a plane that are always the same distance apart. Parallel lines never intersect. Here you see where they have drawn a pair of L's or a pair of parallel lines, okay? Line DE is parallel to line FG. Line DE is parallel to line FG. And lines are named by their points. I'm calling this line DE because it has point D and point E. This is line FG because it has point F and point G. This is the way we would write it, and if you take a closer look in your book, you will notice this symbol in between. Line DE is parallel to line FG. The symbol means it's parallel to. Line DE is parallel to line FG. These parallel lines will never cross each other. Parallel lines can be seen across, or they can be seen vertically going up and down or horizontally going across. You may even see parallel lines slanted. However, they will never cross and they're the same distance apart. We have intersecting, parallel. Now let's take a look at perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular lines are lines in a plane or on a surface that intersect to form four right angles. And by four right angles, let me tell you what I mean by four right angles. This is an angle, this is an angle, this is an angle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. And we've talked about right angles before. A right angle forms a complete 90-degree angle, or there's a square right here in the corner. Okay, so we have 4 right angles. We would read it as line LM is perpendicular to line NO. A perpendicular symbol looks like this. Take a look at it on your sheet. Line LM is perpendicular to line NO. The symbol means it's perpendicular to. Notice how the parallel line symbol looks like this. The perpendicular line symbol looks like this. Okay, so we're going to take a closer look at this today and for the rest of this week. If you will, let's look at the bottom and answer the questions that say try this. All right. So if you look here, there's a diagram. It says, try this. Tell how the streets appear to be related, right? Perpendicular, parallel, or intersecting. Tell how the streets appear to be related, right? Perpendicular, parallel, or intersecting. Let's hear the directions again.
Try this. Tell how the streets appear to be related, right perpendicular, parallel, or intersecting.
Okay, so I want you to...
West 36th Street and Broadway. West 35th Street and 7th Avenue. West 37th Street and West 36th Street.
Okay, so West 36th Street and Broadway, and these are streets that you could possibly see around in your neighborhood. You have different streets going different ways, and I bet in your neighborhood you can find streets that are parallel to each other. You can find streets that are perpendicular to each other, as well as streets that intersect or cross each other. So I want to take a closer look at where West 36th Street and Broadway are. West 36th and Broadway. So I want to zoom in so you can look closer. So here's West 36. Here's Broadway. Now look at how these lines are crossing. Take a look at your model at the top of the paper and think about if these lines are parallel. Are these streets parallel to each other? Will they never cross? Or are they intersecting? Do they form and make 4 right angles? Do they intersect here? And can I actually draw a box here, a square? Are they making right angles? Or do they just make an X? So I give you a chance to think about it, and then we're going to write the answer on our paper. Let me zoom out. So these lines are actually, or these streets are actually intersecting. So I'm going to write intersecting because they intersect. So write intersecting on your paper. Then I want you to take a close look at West 35th Street and 7th Avenue. West 35th and 7th Avenue. Think about what you notice. West 35th Street and 7th Avenue. Okay, these lines are actually intersecting and perpendicular. So I'm going to write intersecting and perpendicular. Okay, go ahead and write it on your paper. Now let's take a look at the next one. West 37th Street and 36th Street. West 37th and 36th Street. So this is 37th. This is 36th. So you can think about, will those streets ever cross each other? If one is going in this direction and this one is going in that direction, will they cross? No. So those streets are parallel to each other, and you can see a pair of L's. So we're going to write parallel for West 37th Street and West 36th Street. Now let's take a look at the top of the next page. And we're at the top of page 390.
Activity. Draw and label ray YX is perpendicular to ray YZ, intersecting at point Y. Materials, straight edge. Step 1. Draw and label ray YX. Step 2. Then draw and label ray YZ. Step 3. Make sure ray YX and ray YZ intersect at point Y. Step 4. Make sure the rays are perpendicular.
Okay, so a ray is a line that has one endpoint and one continuous line. Okay, it has one endpoint and one continuous line. Really? So we don't have arrows on both sides, which would indicate it's a line in both directions. It's just a line. It has an endpoint and a continuous line. So I would read this like this: draw and label ray YX is perpendicular to, this is the perpendicular symbol you saw on the other page, ray YZ. Again, I'm going to read it like this. I'm going to read the line above it as the word ray, because this is the symbol for ray. A ray has an endpoint and a continuous line. Ray YX is perpendicular to ray YZ. They're going to intersect or cross at point Y. So I'm going to draw and label ray YX first. Well, I just said that a ray has an endpoint and a continuous line. So I could have this right here and trace it, and I could actually go ahead and label this one that I just drew as Y what? What am I going to call it? YX. Because it says step 1, draw and label YX. So this is Y right here at the ray, and this is X on the line part. The reason why I put YX right here is because they need to intersect or meet. And the only way they can meet is if this is also the part of my other ray right here, ray YZ. Okay, so this is a ray. It has a point and a line, ray YX. This is also a ray, but we're using the same Y. This is ray YZ. They told me to let them intersect at point Y. They're intersecting or meeting or touching at point Y. So what we had to do was we had to make sure YX and YZ intersect at point Y. We made sure that the rays are perpendicular. And remember, as we said on the other page, perpendicular lines are lines on a plane that intersect to form 4 angles. And if we have the other part, you would actually see the 4 angles. This is one part of the plane. So now let's look at number 1. Well, before we look at number 1, let's answer this question.
Math talk. Explain how you can check if the rays are perpendicular.
So how can we check to see if the rays are perpendicular? We said that a ray, that perpendicular lines form a right angle. So one way we can see if it's forming a right angle is to try to draw a square right here. And there is a square. If I can draw a square right here, then I know this is a right angle. How can you check if 2 rays are perpendicular? We can see if the rays form a square. So let's write that, and I'll write it on the board, and then you can copy it onto your paper. So I can use a square corner. I can use a square corner. I can use a square corner to check if the rays are perpendicular. So to see if the rays are perpendicular, you can use a square corner. Once again, I can use a square corner to check if the rays are perpendicular. Okay. Let's answer questions 1 and 2.
One, name the figure you drew.
So let's name the figure that you drew. So think about what it is. And one of the important parts you would have learned is this symbol. And they haven't shown it to us yet today. We would have gotten it in a lesson prior to this one, but this symbol is for angle, okay? And so this is angle ZYX, angle ZYX. And an angle is known by its points. The 3 points you have and what you drew are Z, Y, and X. So it's called angle Z, Y, and X. No worries if you're just a little bit confused because we have plenty more to practice in just a few minutes. Let's look at number 2.
2. Can you classify the figure? Explain.
Okay, so when you classify the figure, you basically tell what it is. Can you classify the figure? Well, what we're going to say is angle ZYX is a right angle. Okay, and you know that you drew a right angle because you checked it and you were able to draw a square in the corner. And so to add to this, like, how do you know it's a right angle? How do you know those two rays formed a right angle? Well, since you asked me, I'm going to tell you. So we're going to go on to say, since line YX, and we're going to draw the line symbol. Since line YX and YZ and line YZ are perpendicular, angle ZYX is a right angle since line YX and line YZ are perpendicular, and perpendicular rays form right angles. And perpendicular rays, if you want to spell it, perpendicular rays form right angles. Okay, so I'm going to move on. You can always go back and pause so that you can write this or rewind or whatever you have to do. So I want us to look at the next one. We're going to look at share and show, and we're going to draw and label line segments. So for number 1, the symbol that's above Q and R looks like this. This is line segment. This is a line segment. You've already learned ray. And these symbols are also in your packet. If you flip over a couple of pages, you'll see these symbols and you will see them identified. So this is line segment QR. It's parallel to, you see the parallel symbols, line segment ST. So I want you to think about how parallel lines never intersect. Parallel line segments are parts of parallel lines. So it's not a line. Lines will have arrows on both sides. Instead, there are dots showing endpoints. So it's a portion of a line. A line segment is a portion of a line. A line continues to the right or to the left. A line segment does not. So let's look at number 1. I'm going to show you how to draw. Line segment QR is parallel to line segment ST. So I'm going to draw line segment, a line with 2 endpoints. So this is line segment QR. And it's going to be parallel to line segment ST. Okay? Line segment QR is parallel to line segment ST. They can go across this way, or you can draw your parallel lines up and down or slanted as long as they're the same distance apart and as long as the lines never intersect. We're going to use this figure to answer questions 2 and 3. It says, use the figure for 2 and 3. Name 2 sides that appear to be parallel. So I want to slide it up just a little bit. And let's take a close look here. So which sides look like they will never intersect? Look at side CB and look at side DF. Do you think these sides will ever intersect or touch each other? No, they're parallel. They form 2 pairs of L's. They're the same distance apart. They will never touch each other. That is this way plus line CD and line BF. They're also parallel going this way. So we can write CD and BF. We can write CD and BF. Okay? On number 3, name 2 sides that appear to be perpendicular. Well, I want you to remember that perpendicular lines are lines in a plane that intersect to form a right angle. So look at CD and BC. Look right here. I can draw a square right here. And these 2 sides appear to be perpendicular. So on number 3, I'm going to write CD and BC. So let's practice some more. We're going to look at the on your own section to do some together. And what I want you to get used to doing is drawing them and identifying them. So let's look together at the top of page 391. At the on your own section.
4. Name a pair of lines that appear to be perpendicular.
Remember, a pair of lines that are perpendicular form a right angle where you can draw a square. Now I see this square, so now I just got to identify, well, where are the lines? Which ones appear to be perpendicular? Well, if I look at line FJ here, if I look at line FJ, and I can take a look at line HG, here's my square. So those are the lines that are perpendicular. So I'm going to write line FJ and line HG. I can write my line symbol above, line FG, and line symbol HG. FG, or is it FJ? FJ FJ is pigment, no problem. Line FJ and line HG. Okay, so let's look at number 5. Name a pair of lines that appear to be parallel. Where are the lines that will never touch? Well, let's look at DC and FJ. They're slanted, they will never intersect. So, and I can call it FJ, or I can call it JF. So I'm going to write for number 5, line DC and FJ. Line symbol, DC, and line symbol, FJ. Okay, and I will read it like this, line DC and FJ. So we're going to practice a few at the bottom. And again, this geometry skill is a little bit tougher than what we've been doing. So I will be uploading other videos to help you, and maybe I will come back and make another one. But I want you to pay close attention to the front page where it gives you the definitions, how to draw it, and how to read it. Number 6, draw and label the figure described. And I'll do 6 and 7. So let's look at number 6. Ray, RS, remember this symbol is a ray. It's part of a line. It doesn't continue. It will have your 2 dots on the ends. Although you can't see them here, but there's a dot here, indicating an end point. An arrow on each side indicate lines. Okay, so line segment RS, this symbol is parallel. Line segment RS is parallel to line segment TU. So I'm going to draw line segment RS. The 2 ends are called my points. Line segment RS parallel to line segment TU. Okay, or you can draw your lines vertically. Remember, this symbol is for a ray. So I would read it like this: ray KL and ray KM. So ray KL and ray KM will intersect. A ray has an endpoint and a line. So I have a ray KL. Okay. And I noticed a K here and a K there. So I actually want to let them intersect at that point. So instead of me writing my K here, I want to put my K where they'll intersect because they're sharing that point. Go away, K. Okay. Well, now. Okay. So let me get a ray here and another ray. Another ray. I know they're going to share this K. So this is my K. This will be KL and this is KM. So ray KL and KM are meeting at point K. So we can have LKM, or I could have done MKL. No worries, we'll do more. Let's look at 8. This is a symbol for perpendicular to. Remember, perpendicular lines form a right angle. So I want to write a right angle. I want to get it as straight as possible. If you notice, this one is a little bit slanted. It's not exactly right. And this is line segment CD. It's perpendicular to line segment DE. CD is perpendicular to line DE. They're perpendicular, they form a box or a square in the right corner. Okay, so these are, and actually, this is a line segment. Let me take this off. That's a segment. So don't you put arrows on yours. We're going to put endpoints or dots. Line segment. Okay, these are lines. These are line segments. Okay? Yes, I know. I know what you're saying. Miss Pittman, what is going on? Well, geometry. Geometry is happening right now. It's what's going on. Number 9. So above JK, is that a ray or line? Line. Good. So we have line JK. That symbol is perpendicular. Line JK is perpendicular to line LM. And let's see how that is different from 9. Number 8 rather, they had segments. So we did not have the continuous lines because it's perpendicular to, but those are segments. On number 9, it's a bit different. So I want to draw lines. I want it to be perpendicular to, much like what you saw on the first page. So I have line JK, or either way I want to name them. And I want this one to go across here. So I have line JK. This is JK. It's perpendicular to lines LM. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. When we look at intersecting, we know they're going to cross and form an X or a V. So I want some intersecting lines. I can actually just go ahead and make some intersecting lines like this and then decide where I want to put my points. I know I have arrows because they're lines, because that's what they have above the letters. It says they're going to intersect at point X. Point X is the point of where they're going to intersect. And then I have lines S, T. Miss Pittman, slow down. And I have line U, V. Again, no worries. We'll practice more. So if you're totally confused, and it's okay, everybody just calm down. You'll be fine. We'll practice more because this is our very first time doing this. And this is lesson 10.3. You didn't get a chance to see lessons, the lessons prior to this lesson, which is okay because we're going to go forward, but then we're going to back up and go forward again because we can do that. Last but not least, we're going to look at number 11 today. And after you're done with 11, you will close your booklet, you will close your packet, and you will walk away. You won't even look at the next page. You won't look at this anymore today because this has been more than enough. Number 11, I bet by now you can draw parallel lines. I'm sure you can. Parallel lines are parallels And we can do it this way if we like to, because it's our business. These are arrows. Or we can make them go across this way if we want to. AB. I think you got it. And F, G. I got AB. I got F, G. Miss Pittman, slow down. Okay, because I'm getting excited. So I think you have the parallel lines. It's the intersecting and perpendicular, but we'll practice again. All right, this is concludes our lesson for today. Make sure you're checking on your Google Classroom and checking to see what's due and where you should be. Continue to follow your pacing guide, and I will be Zooming with you on Tuesday and Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Miss you and love you. Bye-bye.